we took technology in 20-25 years from 3 to 6 month settlements, from paper trading to instant settlement. Now, for most of you, you've grown up with the computer, you've grown up with sort of this idea of technology and transformation, as Dr. Marvin also spoke about. But what's truly amazing is, when we look into the future and how we're going to carve the future. Now, I have an epiphany moment for you. It might seem that you are a lot of people in this room, but you really aren't. If you look into the data, 220 million active wallets on a monthly basis is what we observe on blockchains at the moment. That makes you de facto, the 6th largest country in the world. 10 years ago, the Ethereum Foundation was founded. We were a few believers, maybe some of you are in here. But when you go into the day of today, we are no longer small. We are no longer petty. We are now a driving force on the size of the 6th largest country. But what's going to happen in the next 10 years? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is the world will be dominated by AI. The AI applications we see today, most of you will speak to Gemini, to ChatGPT, and it helps us. But it's made with bogus data, no quality. We actually don't understand exactly how these neural networks will be, but we all feel the power coming into all of our organizations and into our daily life. Exponential technology companies will drive all growth. We see a globalization who's shattering. New bonds are being tied in a way we've never seen before, and old partnerships are diminishing. And these things will enable a global lack of trust in institutions and data. Let me give you another data point, which is completely mind-blowing. In the last 12 months, AI has generated more pictures than humans has done since the invention of the camera. We will no longer be able to figure out the provenance of a picture, the provenance of data, and what's going to be powerful is, can we prove that human involvement was there? Now, if we look at the market cap, because let's be honest about it, right? A lot of us, we are trading, a lot of us very interested in the markets, we look at economic opportunities around the world. I took the market cap of the world's largest companies, and I added a little bit of commodities, and one of our favorites, I would have loved to add more, but I only had so much room on this giant screen, right? I added Bitcoin. Pay attention to the difference in size. Now, Bitcoin has been ending blocks since inception, right? It's never been down. The source code is solid, governance is solid, the use case is solid. Some call it the digital gold. Well, this is the opportunity. If this really is digital gold, this is your opportunity. I told you, exponential companies is going to drive the world. Look at these players up here, right? We have the Amazons, we have the Microsofts. But what's going to be interesting is, due to the power of AI, we're going to see 1 or 2 companies in the near future being managed, incorporated, and run by 10 people and having a market cap of $1 trillion. That's going to be an issue, right? Because when you think about that, it means that we have a concentration of wealth. We don't have an abundance of wealth suddenly, right? We might have a better user experience and they will add to our daily lives, but we have a concentration of power. Now, if we look one step deeper, this is the Cardano ecosystem. I could have taken one from Algorand or one from Ethereum. It doesn't really matter, right? Now, I am representing Cardano. I'm a bit more familiar with the Cardano ecosystem. But what is kind of interesting is, when you look here, you see we have SNEC as one of the largest. It's a meme coin, but it's no longer a meme coin. They actually have 6 different cash flow models underneath on how to drive community growth. We see lending and borrowing, we see DePIN, we see DEXs, we have AI models, and that means that when you go one step deeper into the engine of what's going to shape the market cap of the future, what you're going to see is no longer going to be driven by volume and liquidity and bots trading against each other. This is going to be active business models driving economic opportunities around the world, but not centralized in one company. Not centralized with one global power who can change the decisions or delist them or shut their businesses, because it's powered by true decentralization. Now, decentralization has some issues. And when you compare this to a city, and most of you probably, I hope, had the time to walk around into Dubai, you know, compare the old city with the new city, and you see how functional, how great it is. A blockchain is nothing else than a city. Have any of you ever been in a dormant city? Any of you been to one of those cities who was evacuated due to a nuclear disaster or something like that, where the nature starts taking it over? You know what? A big city without people is very scary. There is no good blockchains, regardless of the power of the technology, who can live without the people of the 6th largest nation states, and that's the citizens of blockchain, and that's the one who actually engage with crypto. Because true blockchain, the engagement, your citizenship is your wallet. Now, what we do in Cardano sometimes is a little bit out there, and some say it's a little bit slow. We take, we have a peer reviewed, we have a different way of looking at architecture. So here in Dubai, for instance, we work with the Dubai police about global law enforcement of physical items, registration of guns, and footprints in dirt, and how you have markings in bones when you do research and scientific analysis. Probably you see this on some television, right? We are thinking about how do we do connected wearing and clothes regarding authenticity, whether that is with embedded NFC chips, or whether we do it with magic ink, which changes under fluorescent colors, which basically allows you to tag things so nobody can see his tag, but you can use your phone from a user experience, and then into a binary code, and you can verify that. Now, we also work with planting trees and other things. And why am I saying that? It's because what we do is we're trying to get to a situation that crypto is the entry point. It is digital. It's born digital, it dies digital, it's managed digital. But to get the pure value proposition, you need to go from what we looked at before, where Bitcoin was on the right side of the chart, to where physical gold is on the left side. We need to connect the physical world with the power of true decentralized blockchains. What are we lacking? What's going wrong? So in general, scalability, right? So a lot of people say the way the blockchain works and the decentralization is extremely heavy. You see there's some amazing providers of mining equipment and mining rigs out there talking about hash power, and they can really explain to you that there is some trade-offs between proof of work and proof of stake and all those things. But scalability is one of the big things we need to deal with in enterprise blockchain when it's true decentralized at large. We also need to think about affordability. We think about deterministic pricing. So I was part of building one of the first blockchain banks in the world. And it's an amazing bank, they operate here as well. But one of the early discussions we had was, Ethereum by far has the largest market cap. It has by far the most developers. The problem is they don't have deterministic fees. So if you're sitting and thinking about your run rate when you build a bank or when you run a commodity company, if you can't project your operational cost for the next 5 to 10 years, how do you know if you're profitable? Are you just doing this for the fun of it? Are you doing it because the technology is exciting, right? Most of the people who run a business, when they pay salaries, they need to be able to predict the cost of using the infrastructure. Plus it also has to be so cheap that regardless of where you are, we all have seen increased prices around the world, but it has to be so cheap that everybody can participate in it. Sometimes some of those blockchains get extremely expensive. Usability, another feature. Now, how many of you actually constructed a transaction on a layer 1 and sent it to the blockchain for transfer? Up with your hands. Yeah. That's quite hard, right? That's why we rely on exchanges, we rely on intermediaries. But every time we do that, what we are actually doing is we're doing a trade-off. Now, key features is also missing, right? Explaining your grandmother on how to interact with the blockchain and track her old songs and those kind of things. But every one of those 4 issues is things we are working on in the labs. We are coordinating between other layer 1s and layer 2s. So this is not Cardano in isolation. This is how we work in the engine room across layer 1s to solve that. But every time we are being pushed, let's increase the token price. Let's show somebody to somebody, right? What's happening is we're doing a trade-off. We start centralizing it. It's really, really easy to do an amazing user experience if you're a crypto broker, right? But a crypto broker, you know, we have to say, you know, not your keys, not your assets, right? But most of us are like, yeah, but you know, having it in a hot wallet where there's liquidity, I can move faster, right? But in reality, you sign over control, right? So every time we do something, we do this trade-off. And we need to be very wary about that. Because with 220 million people now connected on a monthly basis to crypto and blockchains, we need to create a society which is not completely complex. You know, this is a Rubik's machine, right? So it's something who does something extremely complicated for a very easy outcome, right? And this is sometimes how it looks when we look across layer 1s and layer 2s, right? Nobody really understands the code, and nobody understands incentive structures, and how does Cardano speak to Cosmos, and how does Cosmos interact with USDC and all those things. No, what we really need to do is we need to think about 3 things. We've now entered the first era, which is the economic representation. Sound money. Think about that. How many blockchains has the possibility to print more tokens compared to something like Cardano or Bitcoin, where you cannot just print more tokens? Sound money means that you cannot just inflate it, right? We have the opportunity to represent assets. On Cardano, you now have 8 million asset representations. So most of you probably only know ADA, right? But as I showed you before, there is 8 million different, you know, trial and errors and projects and cool DeFi things going on. Trees planted in Kenya, the Dubai police, and what do we have? We need to build an economy which is built on collaboration. Now, building an economy who's built on collaboration cannot go fast. If you go fast, you end up diversing the ecosystem. You have a hard fork or have a community fork, and you have 2 different ecosystems who's fighting against each other due to political stuff. What I'm showing you here now is what we did on Cardano, because some people always say, yeah, but UTXO and Bitcoin, you know, scalability is a problem, right? So what we did is we took the first-person shooter game. I mean, you look quite young, some of you, right? But hopefully you know this, right? It's called Doom. Doom is a first-generation first-person shooter game. Every frame as you walk through the game is a transaction on the blockchain. In one day in Las Vegas, we generated 19 million transactions. One day. And we put that on the blockchain. This is more transactions than most layer 1 does in a year. So why are we still discussing scalability? Why are we still discussing transactions per second? Well, that's because we are stuck in token price instead of usability. We are stuck where we don't understand the features of what it can do. What we've done here is we've done something called state channels, which allows you to create a permissioned environment to do all these transactions, but you use the decentralization of Cardano, 3,000 stake pool operators as the security layer. And when we speak about security layer, we easily get into quantum computing as well, right? When we have unlimited computing resources, you know what? The future is not going to be a centralized server protected by Oracle or something like that, and a couple of gateways and IPs, huh? You know, there's so much power, right? We will have only databases who's not been hacked yet. And then we will have the last one standing, which is the public permissionless blockchains, because it's so expensive. The design, per definition, is so expensive. And yes, they can also be hacked with brute force and so on, but we build in quantum security and some quantum layers. Now, identity is the key here, but not identity on Cardano. It must be identity above. It's not a platform play. So we built a set of identity solutions who go across blockchains, who go across the world banking system, did an integration with something called Carry. This is 80% of world trade goes through the identity solution of Carry. And they can choose to anchor that on the blockchain, Cardano, or something else. It's all open source, so everybody can take it, right? Or they can anchor that without the blockchain. But this is how we enter the new era. We enter the rooms where these decisions are being made outside your nation state. Now we see this is touching all industries. But I would ask you to do one example here. When you think about how you use GPT today, please take up your phones and go into the settings, whether you have an Apple or an Android or Huawei, it doesn't really matter, and you look at your passkeys. Look at your passkeys. So when you do that, you will find maybe 50 stored passwords, 100, 400. There will be a couple of OGs in here who never will store a password like that because we know the danger of it, right? But most of you, when you look at your phone right now, you will see several 50 to 100 stored identities in there. You know what that is? That is you giving power to somebody else having your data. You cannot remember when you went to the doctor 5 years ago and the doctor gave you prescriptive medicine, right? Wouldn't it be nice if all those representations in your phone, if you have the underlying data which all these service vendors was logging, that you could put that into a large language model powered by AI? This system actually exists called an AI agent. You use something as powerful as a quantum secure identity layer, which is not on a blockchain, but can anchor into a blockchain. Because it's on one blockchain, we fight each other, right? If it's above the blockchain system, we can interoperable with everything. Now this AI becomes your digital twin. This digital twin will be able to remember everything you've done since inception of your digital footprint. And will be trained on that data, not on the internet data, your data. Now, we have regulation and privacy rules against this, right? So that's why, EU GDPR and other places fine you very much for this, huh? But what we'll be able to do in the future is that regulation will push this data to be under your control. They will then have a CK roll-up solution, or a solution like I just showed you, to allow them to verify and build personas to do the marketing and the growth. But you have the data, and you now have an AI agent who can do that under your control using the power of blockchain. Because if this is hacked, this is a digital twin who is way more powerful than anything else who can be hacked around your privacy. That means privacy is changing based on exponential technologies, which is going to drive blockchain growth 100x, right? Plus regulation will go in and say, you're simply not capable of managing that data, dear service provider. So when you look back at your phone, those identities, those small scripts there who identify the data you don't know, you don't have control over, you don't even know that they're stored, right? That will be in the power under you, powered by regulation. That will bring us to 1 billion users. It will skyrocket the AI agent user experience, the digital twins of who you are and what you can do with an underlying foundation of blockchain. But you have to remember one thing, and that's what I started out by saying. If you compromise the diligence, it leads back to centralization. Fast here is not good. You need to get these things right. To create true abundance, not just for one person, not just for one company with 10 people who has $1 trillion market cap, who starts to decide the actions and political environment, right? You need to get to a decentralized world where collaboration is intrinsically incentivized and trust is built through cryptography and collaboration. That's how we get there. And now comes the big question, right? How would the market cap then change? I think that what you're going to see is you're not going to see Bitcoin in here. You're going to see Bitcoin way more to the left side. You're going to see some tables going way up. And you're going to see a representation of other layer ones powered by AI in there who's fighting with the exponential technology companies who has less than 10 people and has these market caps. And the only way we can win is not through technology. It's through incentivized collaboration. Thank you very much.